But we have several different districts that are being represented tonight. We have those from Virginia, those from North Carolina and South Carolina. I think North Carolina's in here somewhere. No, we're not. And Tennessee. But Susan's in my district, so. Also wanted to give a quick shout out to, well, definitely Sue and Shell, because when you think of people of action, and Bethany, this goes for you too, but when you think of people of action, they are truly people of action. They're out there doing the work, getting their hands dirty, making sure the need is met, and from me and all of Rotary, we're very grateful for you. So I'll go ahead and introduce tonight's speakers. Some of you know, some of you don't know, but it's Shell Douglas and Sue Carter. And both have spearheaded this amazing Precious grant that you will be hearing about tonight. And they are current AGs in 7600, but Shell will, both of them will be leaving at the end of June, so they'll be done with their AG years. And Shell will be taking on as District Chair of Global Grants, is that correct?
District Chair of all grants.
Of all grants.
Queen of all.
All of them.
And earlier she was talking about Mike Quillen and giving him big props, so you're probably going to hear from her, Mike.
Right. Great.
But I'm going to go ahead and let them kick it off. I'm going to mute everybody but Shell and Sue so we can not have any interference and hear clearly what they're saying. All right, Sue, do you want to go ahead and say a little something?
Sure, if we can start the presentation, I will start right there. So.
Okay, let me mute people real quick.
Okay.
Oh, Nancy Barbie's on.
Hi, Nancy.
Well, while Nancy's jumping on, Sue is our incoming membership chair for the district.
Right.
Yes, I like to go by the abbreviated version of that, which is DMCE. It sounds more, I don't know, cooler.
Did you
like
start
that.
rapping?
Yeah, that's right.
I was getting ready to say she should start rapping it.
Yeah, so I'm coming in as a new membership chair for District 7600, which is how I met Audley, and that's how we connected. He's definitely helpful. So, okay. So.
And just a reminder to everyone that we are recording and we are Facebook Live also.
So I can't mess up.
That's right.
Okay. So we're here, Shell and I are here tonight to talk to you about what we ended up calling Haley's Grant. And Haley's Grant is something that has been born out of love and connection of 3 people from 3 different continents. So if you could move on to the next slide. And the 3 people that I'm talking about are Shell, myself, and Grace Aloco. And Grace was attempting to connect with us tonight, but she would be connecting all the way from Sunyani, Ghana, and it is 11 o'clock in Ghana. So if she does not make it, we won't blame her. But it's very important, I think, to note that this year's message, this year's Rotary's theme is Rotary Connects the World. And that is so true because we have connected in a most unlikely circumstance. So Shell is from Virginia. I am from Bosnia. You wouldn't tell that by my name and lack of accent, but I grew up in Bosnia. I was there until I was 17, which is when I immigrated to the United States. And then Grace is from Ghana. So we have 3 individual people from 3 different continents, but we have connected through Rotary in one single goal that I will talk about in just a second. So next slide. So that goal has to deal with Haley Green. So let me tell you first how we connected. Shell and I ended up in Farmville when I immigrated to the United States. That's a whole really long story, but when I did end up in Farmville. So Shell and I have met through Rotary, and Shell came out to my club to talk about a grant, a global grant. Her club was trying to build a school in Adayasi region in Ghana, junior high school, and they were very short on funds, just a few dollars short on funds, and so they were asking for, I think it was about $1,100. So I said, jokingly, of course, I said, well, Shell, if I get you that $1,100, would you take me to Ghana with you? And she said, I'll take you anyway, with or without that money. So I said, all right, that's wonderful. Jokingly, of course. And so then I get home and I think about it and I said, well, I checked in with my husband and, you know, he was like, well, that sounds like you, something like you would do. And so I then emailed my entire club and I said, hey, if you guys can raise this money, $1,100 for this particular global grant, I will see it through and I will go to Ghana to deliver it myself. And I copied Shell on that email, and immediately I was a little flabbergasted because Shell responded to all and said, oh, by the way, it's not $1,100, it's now just $500. So we had it raised within a few hours, and of course I was on my way to Ghana. So then about 2 weeks before I was we were scheduled to go to Ghana with this amazing team. Shell comes to my house for a cookout, and during the cookout, she tells me the story about how she connected with Grace Aloko from Sunyani in Ghana. And she says, okay, so I called my friend Grace, and Grace and Shell have met one another on previous trips to Ghana, and they have become really great friends, which is like the theme of the story, right? Everybody that we met in Ghana and everybody that was on that trip have become really great friends. But anyway, Shell tells me that she called Grace and said, hey, you know, I really would like for you to tell me what you want me to bring as a present from the United States. And so Grace said, well, let me think about that for like 2 seconds, right? And Grace comes back with, well, if you could, the only thing that I really, really would love to bring for you to bring me is a baby incubator. So Shell was like, what? What? Did you say baby incubator? Like, you know, a giant thing that costs like $20,000 and I cannot slide into my luggage. Why do you need a baby incubator? So then Grace said, well, you know, I work for the hospital, Sunyani Municipal Hospital, that has one baby incubator, and at that time it was not functioning. This is the hospital that has at least 300 births each year, and a one single incubator in the whole district, and that incubator was not functioning. So let me tell you then about what an incubator is, if we could move on to the next slide. So this is kind of what an incubator looks like. And you know, if you want to guess at the cost, you can find a refurbished old incubator for about $7,000, but brand new and usable and very good ones are upwards of $20,000, $25,000. And obviously, as you can see by the picture, that is not something that Shell could sneak into her luggage and deliver to Grace in Ghana. But, you know, when we talked to Grace, it was very clear that they needed an incubator because of the benefits of the incubator. So next slide. So the benefits of the incubator are, you know, this is pulled up from the research, and incubators protect from infections and allergens and excessive stimulation. So, you know, babies need quiet, dark spaces to be in when they're born because of their integrity of their skin. They need to have most appropriate body temperature. And incubators have shown, research has shown that incubators improve survival chances of premature babies and also contributes to chances of successful future development. I didn't actually understand the whole purpose behind incubators because I'm not a mom myself, right? I don't have any children, but I didn't understand the whole purpose behind the incubators until I was in an EMT class. And in the CMT class, there was a woman who has been an EMT and a nurse for like 40 years. And in my class, she was sharing the story. We were learning about labor and delivery. And in my class, she was sharing the story about how she delivered the baby in the field. And the baby had to be removed from her mother because the mom was coding, which means the mom was losing pulse. And so they had to work on the mom while this baby, just literally born, was, you know, in the hands of this EMT who was at that time very brand new EMT. And so she was holding the baby, and the supervisor of the EMT shift, her senior EMT worker, said, you know, the baby needs warmth, the baby needs warmth. And it was, you know, it was probably fall and it was kind of chilly in Virginia. And so the EMT said, well, what do I wrap it in a blanket? And so the supervisor EMT said, well, if you feel if you feel comfortable with this, the best thing to do would be to unlock your jacket and expose your skin and put your baby against your skin so it can be warm. And so, you know, this is what incubators do. They keep the babies warm like their mom's bodies would keep them warm right after they're born. So all of those are great benefits of the incubators, because you all know, you know, more than I do about that connection between mom and the baby, as well as why the baby needs to be warm. And, you know, it's just extremely important. So those are the benefits of the incubators. Next slide. But again, those are all great benefits, but the costs are absolutely huge, tremendously huge. And, you know, how do we get this to a community that just does not have, you know, a hospital that operates on full power all the time, that has backup generators? Because as you can see, this thing requires, like a Frankenstein, requires a lot of electricity. So move on to the next slide. So where there is a goodwill and better friendships, there is a way. You see Shell here, and she's holding something that we're going to talk about in just a second, which was our solution. So when Shell came to my house that night to talk about, you know, her conversation with Grace, she was actually extremely exhausted and also very thrilled, because night before she came up with a perfect solution about what to do with this dilemma of delivering an incubator that is huge, powerful, and costly to a community that does not have power and could use something more portable, could use something that's not as expensive. So at that time, at my house, 2 weeks before we were about to depart, Shell tells me about her niece, Haley Green, whose picture you saw earlier. She was in the second slide. Haley was living in Harrisonburg, and she just graduated from high school. And her dream was to become a nurse, and she has finished EMT classes. She has finished some CNA nursing classes. Her dream was to become a nurse, but not just a nurse, but a traveling nurse. And her dream was to actually go and help babies and moms in Ghana. So when Shell, you know, heard from Grace, she just had this vision of, oh my goodness. Oh, and Haley, by the way, I'm sorry to kind of ramble on, but Haley actually was tragically killed in a car accident just weeks after her graduation, weeks before she was about to start nursing school. So she was not able to fulfill her dream and go to Ghana and take care of moms and babies. But Shell had this beautiful vision of how to connect the two, right? How to provide the incubator that Grace has requested, and also fulfill the dream of Haley to bring care to moms and babies in Ghana. So Shell's, by the way, a social worker, and she's one of the most fantastic social workers that I've met in my entire life. And I was a social worker myself at one point, so I would know. But you know, the thing is about social workers is that we've never encountered a problem that we wouldn't at least attempt hard to find a solution for. And so that night when she talked to Grace, and when she realized that she needs to be the force that brings Haley's dream and Grace's needs to fruition, Shell started researching. And so I don't know how this went, but if you've seen my video, I made up a story of, yeah, Shell called her neighbor, who called her grandfather in California, whose neighbor works for a pediatrician in Nevada, who, you know, I totally made up that story. I don't know how Shell ended up finding about this way to provide baby incubators to Grace, but she did that. And so in this picture, Shell is holding what we're going to talk about in just a second, and we're on the bus, and we're going to deliver this first baby incubator blanket to Sunyani Municipal Hospital in Ghana. So next slide. So this is our wonderful solution. Our wonderful solution is a baby blanket that's portable. You can carry it anywhere. We can staff midwives with it. We can staff ambulances with it. We can staff hospitals, clinics, anywhere. It will work anywhere. It is affordable. This whole unit with the reusable pack lasts for 100 uses, and the whole unit is about $200. It operates without electricity, and it's regulated, which means that it provides only for the temperature that the baby requires. And this one of the most fantastic things about it is, for those of you who live in kind of cooler places, so not like South Carolina or anything like that, but like Virginia and, you know, further north, you're probably familiar, like if you go to Virginia Tech game, you're probably familiar with those hand heaters. And so recently they've come up with hand heaters that have a little metal piece that when you break, the thing heats up, right? This is exactly the same thing, but it is reusable 100 times. It only has 12 hours of life, and then 12 hours to reset to a new heat. So anyway, it's called Warmiloo, and you can find out more about it on www.warmiloo.com. And yes, it stands for warmth, I love you. So how did we figure out that this even exists? Next slide. Warmiloo was made with love by a super awesome woman out of Chicago whose name is Grace also. And Shell actually contacted Grace, and Grace is working with us actively. We hear from her at least once a week to deliver a bunch of these baby incubators all over Ghana so babies can be safe. Grace was also a preemie, and so she was born weeks and weeks and weeks premature, and so this was her dream, was to discover something that would help other preemies, and so she engineered and she came up with Warmiloo. Next slide. Okay, so let's talk about the need a little bit. So as I said earlier, Sunyani Municipal Hospitals has about 320 births per year with one single incubator, which is unreliable. So it's unreliable because at the time that we were there, it wasn't working. And then also the power it requires is tremendous. And so, you know, we're used to hospitals like here where you can run just about anything on higher power generators, but it's very different in Ghana. And, you know, without taking too much of your time, I just want to show you how different, I want to tell you how different hospitals in Ghana are. So when we visited the Sunyani Municipal Hospital in Ghana, we wanted to see the delivery wing and the labor and delivery wing. And so this wonderful nurse, who's also a Rotarian, took us through, and so she said, okay, well, you need to put the little, you know, pajama protective equipment on and little booties and everything. But we didn't have our hair up, we didn't have, you know, masks on, we didn't have glasses or any of that. And so we started looking around, and we saw some moms, we saw some babies, you know, it was nothing like United States. But the most shocking thing was this nurse was like, okay, and here is where we have our only delivery or our only C-section bed. So she opened the door, and literally like 5 feet from us was 2 surgeons and a bunch of nurses currently working on a C-section. And so we all were flabbergasted, because of course that would never happen in the United States, right? But they were just standing there, and they looked at us, and they kind of gave us thumbs up. And it was Shell and I believe Lisa was there, Lisa Matthews. And so we were all like, oh my gosh, can we stay and watch? And so they let us watch. And I actually have a recording of a C-section. We were so close. I don't want to freak you out. We were so close. We could like hear the pulling of the muscles and the baby coming out. We could hear the first cry of the baby. And then the nurse told us that the baby's name was Akuya. And we're like, how do you know? Because, you know, mom is clearly not able to tell you that. And so they explained that baby girls that are born on Wednesdays in Ghana are called Akuyas. That's one of their names. So anyway, I hope that gives you at least a little bit of an impact or insight as to how things operate in Ghana and why this is so necessary. And then there are some, you know, Ghanaian statistics. So infant mortality rate, which is deaths per 1,000 live births. So infant mortality rate are 36, neonatal mortality rate 24, and then children under 5, 49.3 children under 5 out of 1,000 die. These are extremely high infant mortality or children mortality rates as compared to other developing countries. And I took this quote out of General Hospital of Massachusetts General Hospital. It says, indeed, about 3/4 of the 18 million low birth weight babies born every day because of lack of incubators, especially in rural areas of the developing world that lack reliable electricity to power them. So 3/4 of 18 million low birth babies die because of lack of incubators. So this is what we want to prevent in Ghana, in Sunyani. And so this is why we're working with Sunyani Central Rotary Club and our Rotary Club of Farmville, to bring necessary baby incubators, warming blankets, warmiloos, as well as two shipment containers of medical equipment to furnish the labor and delivery rooms in not just Sunyani Municipal Hospital, but 13 other clinics and compounds surrounding the district. This is why we're doing it. So next slide. And, you know, I kind of wanted to give you another insight into something. So having been born in what almost became a third world country, or at least a war-torn country, I envisioned Ghana to be much different than it actually was. And one of the things that I learned really, really fast in Ghana is that Ghana cares about their children. Ghana cares and takes care of their own. They want to do whatever it takes. They want to help, and they're so mobilized, especially the Rotarians. They're so committed to this cause. This is the first baby that we placed in our pilot baby incubator. Right as we brought the baby incubator, they immediately placed this baby in it. And as you can see, this particular incubator could actually hold 2 babies. So it would help heat and warm 2 babies instead of just 1. But as the nurses and the administrators all gathered to just look at this miracle of a warmiloo incubator and place the baby in it, there was not a single dry eye in that room. I mean, we were all packed in there, and everybody was just so excited and tearful about, you know, this partnership that is going to save the babies and the children. And then, you know, Ghana cares about their children, that's for sure. I mean, it's evident in this picture right here. This little boy right next to me, or a group of little boys right next to me, they have benefited from Rotary brought education, sanitation, water, and hygiene. And they are incredibly, incredibly happy. And obviously you can see how healthy and happy, he's well educated, well behaved. You know, they're benefiting from it, and Ghana definitely, most certainly, is so grateful for that. Next slide. And they also care about the disabled. And the reason I would put this picture here is because we visited a group for disabled children and adults. It was one of our last stops in Ghana. And I was simply amazed as to how well taken care of they were. It was very unfortunate that they had to be placed in this home, but I understand why. I mean, these individuals, families, just did not have the resources and the tools to take care of disabled individuals. So I put this picture here just to show you that, you know, by investing in this global grant and by investing in these baby incubators, we're not just preventing deaths of children, we're also preventing disabilities. And even though the disabled children of Ghana are very well taken care of, thanks to Ghanaian Rotarians and other Ghanaians, you know, their lives would be much richer if we were able to prevent that disability by, you know, doing the preventative care early in their neonatal year or months, days, and providing them with an incubator. So we are so close. We're so close to fulfilling our goal. Our budget was $75,000, and thanks to both District 70 and 7600, both of those districts have provided us with some funds. We are only $10,000 far away from meeting that goal. And, you know, $10,000 from saving the lives of hundreds of babies and improving the lives of hundreds of children. So how can you contribute? How can your club contribute? How can you contribute as an individual? Next slide. This is how. You can either write a check to any amount will do. Okay, like I said, one incubator is $200. If you want to sponsor one incubator, that would be absolutely fantastic. You would be saving so many lives. If you want to send it directly to Rotary Club of Farmville, you can do so by writing a check to Rotary Club of Farmville. And in the memo line, make sure you denote Global Grant 20-96430. And we will put it in a designated account for this particular matter. So we keep the Global Grant Fund separate from everything else. But you would mail that to Rotary Club of Farmville, P.O. Box 659, Farmville, Virginia 23901. And it is a real place, I promise you. Farmville is a real place for those of you who are tuning in from far, far away. If you would rather donate directly to the Rotary Foundation, you're totally welcome to do so. If you send us the check to Rotary Club of Farmville, it will be my responsibility, and I personally guarantee you that I will fill out that, if you're a Rotarian, I will fill out that individual donor form or multi-donor form for you. So the funds that you do send are going to be applied to your Paul Harris Fellow and other credits. And if you are sending it directly to the Rotary Foundation, this is the address that you're going to send it to. But please make sure that on that individual donor form or on that multi-donor form, you do outline the number, the grant number. You would be donating to Global Grant 20-96430. So I think that is it. Should we go to the next slide and check?
That's it.
Okay, so I would love for Shell to spend just a few minutes to tell us about her, direct experience of how this vision came to be, and why it's so important to Haley and to Grace and to everybody involved here to do this.
Well, Haley was the 18-year-old daughter of my cousin, and my aunt and uncle and my cousin. Of course, in the whole family, were very devastated when Haley was killed in the car accident. But when I was visiting with Haley right after her graduation from Fort Defiance, she talked about how she wanted to go around the world, do mission nursing, and really take that pediatric nursing and just do something special with it. She didn't really want to work in a hospital in the US because that just wasn't where she was feeling it. And could she please, 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 please go with me on a Rotary trip? And I said, sure, you finish your nursing school and I promise I will take you to Africa with me. So this was my way to fulfill that promise to Haley, but to also give a purpose to our family, that Haley is doing what she wanted to do. Her spirit is there, keeping babies warm. And it's really been such a blessing for the family to be able to see that there's been some good still in the tragedy that happened with Haley. So that's kind of why we started the pilot project. We have 2 incubator blankets right now in Sunyani. We started with one that we carried over, and it fit very nicely in my carry-on bag. It weighed 6 pounds all total, and it didn't get snagged by TSA at all. We found, though, that when we had one that was constantly being used, it needed the downtime to recover. So we used some of our trip funds, thank you Nancy and Gary, to support sending a second one so that there would always be an IncuBlanket available to the maternity unit. So when one was in recovery, the other one was in use. And the nursing staff and the physicians, we did a Zoom training before we were required to do Zoom trainings at 4 a.m. in the morning with Grace from Chicago and us from Virginia and the Ghanaian medical staff being trained on the IncuBlankets. And it has now become their go-to. That is why the project became the idea, because the surrounding medical clinics, because there's still a lot of babies born in villages rather than in a hospital. They're like, well, we can use this here, and we can make sure babies are alive when they're born in the village. If we have to transport them from the village into the hospital, this can go right in through the transport to the hospital. So it's really now being seen as something that is useful, something that is purposeful, and Rotary is helping to bring that opportunity to Ghana and to that community. So.
And we'll take any questions that you might have.
and you'll have to unmute yourself.
Sue,
Tell me again what the cost of one of those warmers is.
We've been sending a warming blanket with 2 of the heater packs, and that runs about $200.
So with 2 heater packs, they can be in continuous use because each heater pack requires 12 hours to recover after 12 hours of work. So they can be in 24-hour use.
And if you think about, some of those lunch boxes that you have that are kind of those soft-sided lunch boxes, that's really what the Incu blanket itself feels like. And then you saw in the picture of me, that was kind of a zipper part in the back. That heater piece fit in that zipper part, and it allows the whole blanket to stay at that consistent heat for that 8 to 10 hours. So then when that heater pack needs to be replaced, they have the backup heater pack they can put in, and they can sustain the baby's heat that way.
It's like a little astronaut suit.
Yeah.
A little snowsuit.
so
Yeah.
Sue, this is Vivian. Can you give us a broader picture or kind of comment on the $75,000 for the grant? Could you tell us how that's being used?
Yes. So this particular grant started off as Baby Incubator Blankets grant. But then we realized that, I'll share another personal story. When I went to Ghana, I was an active emergency medical technician, and with me I brought my very cheapest stethoscope and blood pressure cuff and a little oxygen thing that you put on your finger just in case. And I'm thankful that I did, because we had a member who got very sick and we had to help him out. But anyway, when we visited Sunyani Municipal Hospital, and Grace was there, and as were a bunch of other nurses, I did not see a single stethoscope anywhere. So I asked Grace, I said, this is really weird. Like, you walk into a hospital in America and just about anybody has a stethoscope around their neck. And she said, oh no, we have like 3 stethoscopes for the entire hospital, and only top doctors are allowed to use them. So I said, well, first of all, I'm leaving you my cheap stuff, right? Which totally brought her to tears, because, she's now like one of the poor people in the hospital that actually have access to the stethoscope. And, secondly, we realized that this needs to be more than the baby incubator. So we focused on equipment that will assist with labor and delivery. So what we're seeking to fund for not just Sunyani Municipal Hospital, but also all the 13 clinics that we're assisting, the compound clinics that we're assisting, is we want, simple things like stethoscopes and blood pressure cuffs, as well as the labor and delivery beds, and then delivery kits. So things that you can actually deliver a baby with in the field. Not to get into detail of baby delivery, I'm sure you all know what it entails, but very simple things like, David's like, no, nor do I want to. Very simple things like scalpel to cut the cord with, and clamps to clamp the cord with, and the sanitizing or sanitary gauzes and to catch the blood with, and the thing that the little suction cup, exactly. So all of those things come in kits, and actually we're in delivery kits. So we're working with several vendors, but we're hoping that Supplies Across Seas, Supplies Overseas, SOS, will help deliver some of these supplies for us, which, if we go that route, they're much, much cheaper than if we just bought them through a vendor themselves. So those are that's where the funds would go. So we're focusing our scope of project, we're focusing it on labor and delivery and these 13 hospitals plus the Sunyani Municipal Hospital.
Gary, unmute yourself again. I muted you. Are you unmuted? Yeah, you're unmuted. Hey, you were there with us that day, right? When we went to the hospital?
Yeah, I was. And I'll tell you what, Sue, you described it really well in terms of the needs, and they were greater than just our incubator that we were bringing. there were so many things that the hospital could do. So I was really happy to see that you expanded the grant to include many of those items. That was fantastic. I will admit, I was inside the baby unit or whatever, but I didn't see the C-section. Sorry about that. But anyway, I was taking care of past RI Director David Michaud, who was with us. And my job was to keep him off his feet and in a chair during that period. So we sat there and watched everything that was going on. It was just amazing how they embraced Shell for this gift of the incubator. And then Sue, to give her stethoscope and items she had. It just was amazing how they just were amazed that someone would actually do that and help them in regard. So it's been a really good project. I was happy to be on the trip. I was happy to be able to donate to that second incubator that was purchased through Shell's help. And I think Nancy Barbie, who's on the line as well, she's also a past district governor. And so it was really wonderful to be able to help in those regards. Yeah, we had a great team. We were there. I was there for a little bit of a different reason. My heart's always been with children and doing things to support the children, and had the opportunity when I was district governor to spearhead an event to raise money for a large, simple school under the Rotary Simple School Program. And then to go over with RI past Vice President Ann Matthews to actually dedicate a 6-classroom school. But the great thing about the trip was we also got to go out and validate other needs in that process, to include the hospital and the things that Sue has talked about, but also a couple of more schools. We actually have, our little group has band together under Shell's leadership, and we've raised money for 4 more schools before that program actually terminates or stops at the end of this year. So that was wonderful. I really got my eyes opened on how the micro grants worked, and the farm, and the ability to allow people to be employed and to have crops and sell crops and that type of thing. It was just an amazing trip. And I think Sue said it right, with an amazing group of people, all with caring hearts. We had folks like Beth. Bethany's on this call or not?
She is.
Bethany, I think you had like 3 months in Rotary. I mean, she was one of the newest Rotarians on the trip. There were a couple. And then there were folks we had David Michaud, who's probably the oldest, past RI director, at least in our district, he is 7770. So this group, no matter what the skill bank, always we had an expert who could focus on a specific problem. Y'all talked about the disability school that we went to. Beth, that was right in her backyard, and they were trying to figure out things they could do to really make that program go, maybe some summer programs and things like that. Amazing ideas came from that young lady. And she and Sue and all the others, Shell, Nancy was there with Ann, and Dawn, who's a past district governor, and so many more. We had a district governor-elect who dedicated another school in the name, a large school as well, in the name of his son who had passed away. And just so many people with caring hearts, open eyes, looking for the need, and then coming up with solutions on how we as Rotarians, just through a little bit of help and a little bit of money, could make those realities true and truly make a difference in that in Africa. So I had a great trip. It was wonderful. I'm glad you ladies took care of me so well. So that was good. And it's good to be back home in South Carolina and in quarantine here at the house.
We called Gary Dad. Well, I did, because he's so much like my dad. It was awesome.
Well, and I would love to show you all, you know, just so you know that you know for sure that I'm not making this up. I want to show you a picture that we took while we were watching baby Akia get delivered through a C-section. So here's the picture that we took. Okay, so that's us watching. And here is baby Akia.
That's right.
Freshly delivered. So we have definitely seen a baby get delivered. And, you know, I really, truly appreciate everything that everybody has done for this particular project. And I'm looking forward to, you know, getting those incubators out to the hospitals that truly are in need of them. And yeah, I really appreciate it. And I see that there's some chat activity going on.
So Tracy, my girl, was like, I'll give 25 to the grant for baby incubator. He will give a match. Maybe we can get to 200 and buy one. And I said, I'll match. Nancy Whitlock says, I'll match.
Nancy
Barbie said yes. Vivian's waving.
Oh my goodness. This is how magic and Rotary happens.
So, Sue, can you go tell us again? I know the global grant number is 20-96430, and I know I would make the check to Rotary Club of Farmville, but I can't remember the P.O. Box something something.
Here, I'll share it again.
Okay.
Okay.
Where
It's
is it?
it's the last, there's no telling.
You know you're going to have to email me, too. You know I won't see this. I forget all about it. You know you're going to have to email me.
Why don't I email everybody?
Yeah, I think that'll be helpful, but it's definitely the last slide in the
I'm
deck.
getting there, girl.
No, you're fine. I'm getting a little dizzy from this movement, you know?
Here you go.
So, Sue, you did not say who we make the check out to, though.
The Rotary Foundation.
Yes. Well, if you're sending it to Rotary, to us, Rotary Club of Farmville, you make it out to Rotary Club of Farmville, and we'll take care of sending it.
That's my question.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
You'll move it from there.
Yes, ma'am. And we will be sure to fill out the individual donor form for you and make sure that you're credited your points for sure.
I'll just put a note in there which club I'm with. Thank you so much for doing that.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your donation and all of those who have started this and matched it. This is really amazing. Thank you.
Yes, Mama.
I have a question. This grant has already been approved and everything. It's all clear, right? Is that right?
The grant has not been approved, but the number has been sent out. So we did receive the grant number out of the Rotary International. The grant will be submitted by June 15th, and we'll hopefully get an approval by the end of June.
You won't.
You won't get an approval by the end of June. She's so optimistic.
I just got a message, though, that no grants, no matter when they're sent, will not be, nothing will be done with global grants until after July 1.
Okay.
And all cash contributions will not be eligible anymore. They will not accept cash contributions to be matched by the World Fund after July 1. So you might better call Abby McNear, or I'll help you with that, or do that for you, just to make sure, because these contributions, you might be able to give them to the annual fund, or have everybody give them to annual fund or something, and then have DDF put into that grant. So call Abby McNear to see how that's going to work.
Okay. We have 8 so far, so 8 times 25, what is that?
200.
We just bought an incubator.
Incubator.
Anything extra from there goes to all the other supplies, so keep it coming, guys.
Yay! We did that on E-Club.
Wow, Mary, thank you so much.
Yay, Mary, she's a new member.
Woo! This is super exciting.
She's going to do 40. We love Mary.
We do. Yeah, you're already in. We just voted on her today, but she's already in.
Yay!
Wonderful. Well, I really, really appreciate everything, all your help, both in financial contributions and in just, good vibes and thoughts towards our journey to supply Ghanaians with baby incubators, and then, of course, all the expertise in the room too. Really appreciate it. So,
and we'll make sure we keep you posted with lots of pictures along the way.
We will. All the babies.
Question. Are we going to go back to Africa?
Yeah, maybe.
Y'all are.
I'm just trying to
That
go
was my
around.
last trip.
I'm just trying to go down the block.
Somebody's got to deliver those baby incubators, you know?
I was told that was my last trip.
No.
My
Yeah.
goal is to get to South Carolina one of these days. So.
Can I have one more minute?
Yes.
Yeah.
I have 2 announcements, just FYI. My club on next Wednesday night, June the 3rd at 7 o'clock, will have the Rotaract Think Tank. So all of you are invited. Amber, I'll send you that mail and you can forward it to everybody. Alex Ritchie will be on that. And the foundation team has developed the Rotaract Think Tank. So we'll have a Rotaract panel. So any Rotaractors that you have in your district, please invite them too. Shall invite the Ghanaian Rotaractors. I'm not sure what time it will be there for them. It may be kind of early in
Like
the middle
11.
of the night. So I don't know. But anyway, it was 7
They're
p.m.
young. They stay up late.
That's it. They can do it. 7 p.m. June the 3rd. And then on July the 29th, our district governor, incoming governor, will be having a NID celebration. It's for anybody. It doesn't have, you don't have to have been on an NID. You could be want to know more about NIDs. And one of our special guests will be Dr. Matthew Vargas, who does polio corrective surgeries in Delhi, has one of the only polio wards left in India. And then Shekhar Mehta, the incoming president of Rotary, will be on that as well. So that's July 29th. Everybody will get an invitation. So
Yeah, Bethany, you should be on that since you're going to India with Nancy someday.
that's right. Whenever I can go back. Let's see. But anyway, everybody will get an invitation. Just thank you for my little plug. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Nancy.
Oh, look at hi, David. We didn't get to say hi to you. I look forward to the day we can meet in person because all we've done is just done Zoom.
I've been having technical difficulties today, so I came in late.
Well, you look good, so that's all that matters.
And he gave money.
Yes, he did.
You did.
Thank y'all, everybody. This has been such a this has been a great meeting. I love eClub. And you know, only one of my members is on this call. I'm pretty sure. Bethany's always dedicated. I love babies. Please give me that baby. Can I have that baby? I just give me the
That
baby.
baby visited us in the Rotary Club already. So you come to us and you will have the baby.
I will. I will take your baby. I mean, not away, but I will take your baby for you, and so you can have moments of rest.
Thanks. He is yours right now.
Give me the baby. I will take him. Thank y'all, everybody, for being here. Are there any other announcements or questions before we go? I love you all so much.